Okay. Can I preface all my responses by saying that I'm going to try and weave a focus on play into the responses, because I think that's such a big part of this group. So, because you might have heard those questions and thought, I thought you were going to talk about play and inquiry. So I will in relation to those questions. Okay, this is annoying answer number one. There's no such thing as an ideal day. There really isn't, because I've seen many ideal days, but they are ideal because they work in the context of that school and that community. So that's absolutely the first thing. I'm sure you would agree. It's very dependent on the community of learners. It's dependent on what you said, Becky, about whether it's a school where there are numerous what we might call specialist or single subject teachers, as there are in parts of Australia, certainly internationally, and even the design of the learning spaces. In fact, I think the design of the learning spaces influences the way that we structure a day. If there's just one adult in the room and it's one single room, there may be fewer options for how you organise your day than if you are in more of a shared space with some flexibility of groupings and so on. So I want to just give you a couple of examples of different arrangements. So two examples. So one really innovative, beautiful little school here in Melbourne, tucked away in the inner west here. All the children, and this includes the older children, begin their day with what I call personal inquiry. So they move into their very open learning spaces and engage straight away into the projects that they are working on. These are either individual or small group projects. So they begin that, and in fact, those projects will often flow right through the day. However, while that is happening, and they've got this intricate system that they use, the children move in small groups. They'll have targeted focus group times, mainly with a focus on literacy and numeracy throughout the day. So the small group teaching is happening in those areas while you've got this constant thread where the kids are working on their investigations. So there is a staff member or two, I think they call them influencers, which was pre-Instagram as a term, a bit unfortunate now. But those staff members are roaming to work with those kids while other staff members are working with a small group. Now, that's one day. I work with another school that also has quite open spaces. The grade 5-6 children very rarely meet as a class. It's small group teaching. They have an opening and a closing circle each day. So that looks quite different again, but probably the most common flow of a day in many of the schools in which I work would be that there would be a workshop session that was devoted to, we often call it big question time. You know, it's our quest. It's the thing that we're investigating, their big question. A workshop devoted to that, a readers and or writers workshop, and often a maths workshop. But just because they're labelled as such doesn't mean that what's happening inside those times isn't connected. So it might be as we move into our writers workshop that some of the children are continuing to write in relation to what they're exploring in their big question and so on. And I've always loved the use of workshop as the language, and peppered in amongst that week will be some specialist sessions. And I'm going to use the word ideal just for this. In an ideal week, I think in the upper primary area, there should absolutely be at least one workshop time that is devoted to opportunities for children to investigate their passions, interests, the curiosities that they have themselves. We often call that studio time or I time. It's not genius hour. It sits alongside their shared inquiry. So maybe it might be that's what happens on Tuesday mornings. There we go. Oh, I did write down there's no one way of doing it, but there are a couple of key principles really quickly. Extended blocks of learning time. What is not ideal is the stop-start day. I've got half an hour of this, then I stop, and then I go to that, and then I stop that, and then I go somewhere else, and someone else comes in. We know that absolutely is that'll kill depth and flow. I think most people know that. But having said that, some predictable routines. Sometimes people think that if you're going to use an inquiry-based approach, that means, hey, we just like let it all flow and it's crazy chaos. No, it's not. There's actually predictable routines so that we have enough structure to allow the unexpected and the spontaneous to happen. So they would be my two must-haves: extended blocks of learning time and some predictable routines like the morning circle and the afternoon circle.